Mark Twain once complained that everybody's talking about the weather, but nobody's doing anything about it. Well, times have changed. For the past 35 years, we have been tinkering with the weather machine. Today, we can grow clouds, make rain, and remove fog. And the forecast calls for more man-made weather. Charles Hostler of Penn State is one of the nation's foremost experts on weather modification.
In the 80s and 90s, what we will be doing is mostly redistributing within storm systems the rainfall that would have occurred naturally, and we can redistribute it in such a way as to put the rain where it can be stored in reservoirs or where it may be useful for agricultural purposes.
Weather modification could become one of the greatest miracles of 20th century science, transforming desert into pasture land, taming killer storms, and producing more water for growing cities and thirsty crops. Dr. Ronald Lavoie is in charge of this nation's weather modification program. He predicts that farmers will benefit from rainmaking in the 1980s.
This indeed could be of tremendous value to agriculture, and that's a prime objective of the research in this area.
It's not nice to fool Mother Nature, but we now have the technology to do just that. Raindrops need microscopic bits of salt and dust on which to form, but often these tiny cloud nuclei are missing. Conditions are now ripe for cloud seeding. Silver iodide particles released from airplanes attract water vapor and eventually fall to the earth as rain or snow. Last year, some $20 million was spent seeding clouds over 20 states, nearly all west of the Mississippi. Much of that effort went into increasing snowpack over the Rockies and clearing fog away from busy airports in the Pacific Northwest. Scientists are predicting a rosy future for weather modification. Snowfall over the Rockies could be increased by 30%. A 10 to 20% increase in rainfall is possible over the Plain States. And during the 1990s, it may be possible to turn off lightning, reduce hurricane winds by 15%, and damaging hail by as much as 60%. Cloud seeding may add additional water to our lakes and reservoirs, minimizing the effects of drought in the 1980s. But the prospect of tampering with weather has some residents upset.
This is owned by the public. It does not belong to any one single individual or corporation or business. It belongs to us all.
Tomorrow, the controversy heats up as we investigate changes in the wind. Paul Douglas, Newswatch 16.
If we set out to increase rainfall, we might, if the weather isn't shaping up exactly right, we might end up decreasing rainfall instead.
What we are really dealing with here is a meteorological Watergate.
These residents of South Central Pennsylvania claim to be the victims of an illegal cloud seeding experiment. They blame the National Weather Service, the Defense Department, and others for a drop in rainfall and an increase in severe weather over the last 20 years.
How we can go about proving this is practically impossible. In fact, the professional cloud seeders themselves boast before Senate hearings that they don't carry insurance or very little insurance against damages because it's almost impossible to prove in a court of law that they have been cloud seeding.
These people who are doing it would know that if they revealed to the public what they're doing, they would be swamped with lawsuits because they have done terrific damage.
The Tri-State Natural Weather Association has received thousands of letters from people worried over the effects of weather modification. This is their only shred of evidence, found in a farmer's field in 1978. A National Weather Service employee confirmed that it was probably a lightning suppressant dropped from an airplane in an attempt to reduce lightning nearby. But experts remain skeptical.
This is all, in my opinion, completely a product of their imagination. And even if someone were trying to do it, it would work. And no one, to my knowledge, is trying to do it.
We have had investigations done over a period of approximately 10 years into the question of whether there is cloud seeding going on. And over the 10-year period, we've never found any evidence that cloud seeding is going on in Pennsylvania.
A license is needed to seed clouds over Pennsylvania, but this state law may soon be abolished. Secretary of Agriculture Penrose Hallowell believes these regulations are unnecessary.
Based on previous use, I would say it's not needed. It hasn't done much in the last 5 years.
The controversy in southern Pennsylvania continues today, but one thing is clear: weather modification could become a legal nightmare. In the mid-50s, New York City experienced a severe drought. City officials were desperate. Clouds were seeded over the Poconos, and months later, for some reason, New York's reservoirs were overflowing with water. Everyone was happy, except for the resort operators on Coney Island. They lost money because of rainy weather. They blamed the cloud seeders, and their complaint eventually wound up in court. They lost their court battle. There have been 8 such lawsuits since 1950, but cloud seeders have never paid damages because proving guilt beyond a shadow of a doubt is nearly impossible. Serious problems remain.
I don't really see how at this point we're going to settle the legal and the moral question of who gets what rainfall and who decides.
Paul Douglas, Newswatch 16.
I guess the biggest danger of purposeful modification of weather is that most of the time that we try to modify weather, we're not really sure what we're doing.
June 9th, 1972. Rapid City, South Dakota is inundated with 14 inches of rain in 8 hours. A nearby dam bursts, sending a wall of muddy water spilling through the center of town. 250 people drown. Thousands are left homeless. Hours before the flood, clouds near Rapid City had been seeded with salt. Did the rainmaking experiment backfire? Flood survivors think so, and they sue the federal government for damages. The case is still in court today. The Rapid City flood, 1972. Could it have been caused by seeding, or was it a coincidence?
It was a pure coincidence. It is not conceivable that the seeding could have had anything to do with that flood.
Ronald Lavoie is in charge of this nation's weather modification program, and he agrees that man-made floods are unlikely.
We cannot create floods, can't stop a drought either.
It's been said that every dark cloud has a silver lining, but clouds laced with silver iodide could cause a storm of discontent in years to come. Silver is a toxic substance which settles to the ground hours or even days after clouds are seeded. Cloud seeders insist that any silver reaching the Earth is dilute and harmless, but many scientists agree that more research is needed into the effects of silver on plant and animal life. More questions remain. Will cloud seeding insurance become necessary for possible ill effects of weather modification? Just who owns the water overhead? And who has a right to tap this water? Fred Wirtz of the Department of Agriculture foresees some weather-related headaches in days to come.
I think there could be a number of potential conflicts that could occur. In some states, you could get conflicts between people who might want rain at a particular time and people who don't want rain at a particular time.
Weather is a potential weapon. The Defense Department now admits that it tampered with the weather over Indochina from 1966 to 1972. Over 2,600 rain-making missions were flown during Project Popeye, with the hope that more rain would muddy the enemy's supply route during the Vietnam War. In 1976, Fidel Castro charged the United States with secretly seeding clouds near Cuba, attempting to dry up that country's sugar crop and topple his government. Sprinkling black dust on the polar ice caps and beaming radio waves into the upper atmosphere could alter the weather over the Earth. But in 1974, the UN General Assembly voted to ban the use of weather as a weapon of war.
Compared to the other weapons we have at our disposal, I see this as being a very minor or insignificant factor in modern warfare.
Every day we are changing the weather, accidentally. Tomorrow we look for more changes in the wind. Paul Douglas, Newswatch 16. weather modification could become a blessing for farmers in the 1980s, increasing rainfall and reducing the ravages of hail. But in the wrong hands, weather manipulation could do more harm than good.
I think you face many of the same problems the medical profession faces today, that you have a lot of crackpots in both the medical profession and in the weather modification profession.
State law requires a license to seed clouds over Pennsylvania. But Newswatch 16 has learned that this requirement may soon be lifted, permitting easy access to the rain clouds overhead. Who has a right to tap this water? And what can be done to lessen the risks of cloud seeding?
I think probably the best way to establish standards, and particularly standards that would be uniform throughout the country, would be to have licensing done at a federal level.
Federal regulations have been proposed off and on, but the current policy is to encourage the states to do this. One reason is that weather modification is local, as it's currently practiced, and the federal government feels that local people should have control over what goes on in their area.
The debate over planned weather modification continues to this day, but we are changing the weather accidentally every day. A rainy day in the city can be very annoying indeed. But ironically, large, smoky cities may be triggering rainfall downwind over the suburbs. Large cities pump enormous amounts of heat and pollution into the sky. Tiny smoke particles can actually attract water vapor and form raindrops. Hot exhaust from cars, factories, and endless miles of concrete can send clouds boiling higher into the sky. The result can be startling.
Damaging storms are more frequent downwind of cities. Heavy rainfalls, thunderstorms, hailstorms.
In 1977, scientists wrapped up a 6-year study of St. Louis, Missouri, and its effect on local weather. The Metromex project concluded that city smoke and heat triggered a 30% increase in summer rains, downwind over the suburbs. Thunderstorms were 45% more common, and reports of damaging hail doubled. But there's more. Studies suggest that dense fog is much more likely near large cooling towers and along busy highways rich in smoky particles. Jet contrails can persist for hours, blotting out sunlight and dropping temperatures a degree or two on the ground. Clearing away forests may reduce rainfall by as much as 10%, increasing the chance of drought. Chemicals released from spray cans, fertilizers, and high-flying aircraft like the SST may be eating away at the Earth's ozone layer, which shields the ground from harmful ultraviolet rays. And the marriage of man-made pollution and cloud droplets is producing acid rain, which now threatens our fish, crops, and buildings. We are changing the weather. Tomorrow, a look at the long-range forecast and future changes in the wind. Paul Douglas, Newswatch 16.
I think for the immediate future, it seems like any attempt to modify the weather would be rather local, and the effect would be maybe great to a few individuals, but to the general public, it would probably be not even noticed.
Not everyone agrees. These farmers in southern Pennsylvania charge that illegal cloud seeding is going on today, but state officials remain skeptical.
Our position right now is that we know of no cloud seeding being done. If we are presented evidence that there is seeding being done, or when we receive complaints from citizens, be they farmers or non-farmers, we will conduct an investigation.
But experts agree that in the wrong hands, cloud seeding could do more harm than good, reducing rainfall and even increasing the threat of hail. Serious legal and political problems arise. Who will have the enormous responsibility of regulating the rain clouds overhead, Pennsylvania or the federal government? Will cloud seeding insurance ever become necessary? And just who will be permitted to reap the benefits of weather modification? Charles Hostler predicts winners and losers.
Since there will be some real capability to increase the rainfall in one place, perhaps at the expense of the immediately adjacent place, there's going to be some money for the lawyers in that. There's no doubt about it.
Cloud seeding may help fill northeastern Pennsylvania's lakes and reservoirs in the 1980s, reducing the chance of a serious water shortage. But large cities are accidentally seeding clouds with pollution every day, producing heavier rain and hail over the suburbs. Man-made pollution may have an even more hazardous side effect. Burning oil and coal is releasing vast amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is the Earth's security blanket, preventing heat from escaping into outer space. But the burning of fossil fuels could double the amount of carbon dioxide over the next 50 years, raising the Earth's temperature by as much as 6 degrees, a dilemma known as the greenhouse effect. What follows sounds like the plot of a poor science fiction movie. A dramatic warm-up could melt the polar ice caps, flooding large coastal cities under 15 feet of water. The effect on agriculture and food production would be staggering. Climatologist Murray Mitchell predicts that much of America could become hotter and drier as we approach the 21st century.
What we really need to worry about is not so much a general warming of climate as a byproduct of that warming, which is a change of the winds flowing around the world and a change of where storms go, a change in where it rains and where it doesn't rain. And that is probably the most important consequence in the near term that we really have to be careful about.
The greenhouse effect may have been responsible for a warm-up during the first half of the 20th century, but North America has cooled nearly a degree since 1940. Some climatologists believe this cooling is triggering drier weather for us and droughts for Africa. Douglas Payne of Cornell sees colder, drier winters ahead in the 1980s.
We think the 80s will be about 20% overall drier than normal. Some peak year drynesses may be 40% less than normal precipitation. We use a mix of sunspot information and climatological records that we feel allows us perhaps even years in advance to call the winters somewhat successfully on temperatures. What we do see for the up and coming winter is about 2 to 4 degrees below the long-term normals.
Long-range forecasting is the lateral of meteorology. It's something people want so badly they'll take it even if they suspect it won't work. Not everyone agrees with Payne's controversial prediction.
As far as forecasting a season ahead, or let's say a month or more ahead, or forecasting for a year or years ahead, this is pure fantasy.
The long-range forecast is still very much up in the air. But one thing is becoming clear. We are changing the weather, purposely and accidentally. And over the coming years, we will all be able Over the coming years, we will all be able
years ahead. This is pure fantasy.
The long-range forecast is still very much up in the air. But one thing is becoming clear. We are changing the weather, purposely and accidentally.
I'm talking about 50, 60 years ago. That's a long time. It's gradually gotten colder.
Well, I've lost 25 to 30 cows and about 50 calves. And I'll tell you what, since the 23rd of March, we've had 7 feet of snow in here. I've never seen nothing like it in my life.
Theories behind climatic change are complex and contradictory. Earth's changing relationship with the sun seems to be a long-term cause of changing climate. It is believed that over thousands of years, the Earth wobbles as it spins, shifting the tilt of its axis. This phenomenon distributes the sun's rays over a different area of the world's surface, creating new climate patterns. Some scientists believe that periodic warming and cooling of the sun has altered the amount of heat striking the Earth, thereby altering climate. It is theorized that since solar flares and sunspots are evidence of isolated variations in the sun's temperature, large-scale differences in the sun's output may also occur.